What's up, upstanders? Dr. O here, and I'm starting to feel like maybe I should have already known. I kind of feel like low key, Joe Scarborough is trying to make us all feel more comfortable with Trump's deportation policies and strategies. And to be fair, he's definitely been critical of what Trump has done with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and he's been talking about how Democrats should be, protesting every single day, to speak up on this, and that's fair. But one of the things I can't understand, which has led me to the conclusion that I have, is that he continually brings up Obama's immigration policy, which is what he also did today. And he brought up the fact that it was him and Eddie Glaude and Reverend Al Sharpton, and they were talking about, well, a lot of this stuff looks like what Obama did. And it was Eddie Glaude who brought up the fact that it was Obama who originally hired Tom Homan. Joe Scarborough was like, Reverend Al, weren't you out there, protesting against Obama's policies? And Reverend Al was like, we were absolutely protesting against him back then, and many of us were speaking up. There was a reason that Obama was named the deporter in chief. But so I get all of that. But the thing that doesn't make sense is that why, Biden was the most recent Democratic president, and both Biden and Obama deported more individuals than Trump has. So why not compare it to the last administration? You always compare everything to Biden, Joe Scarborough, when you talk about the economy and how Trump inherited a great economy and so on and so forth. But whenever you bring up this idea about immigration, and when other people, protesters and the like, are speaking to the cruelty of this immigration policy, this idea like, well, Obama did it as well. What's the point in that? Because the fact of the matter is, there are some differences, as Reverend Al Sharpton did bring up. Well, number one of the differences was that as much as we critique, the things that Obama did with immigration, people who he deported were already pretty much down at the border already, awaiting different processes, and there were speedy processes, which people have critiqued, rightfully so, no doubt. Trump is going into Maryland. He's going into Illinois. He's going into Massachusetts, like doing all of that. That's a difference. How about the student visas? How about that? Obama didn't target people who had differing opinions on Israel, Palestine, or his policy in Sudan, or anywhere else in the world. Didn't revoke student visas. Didn't crush universities, work to crush universities in part because of their immigration policies for accepting international students who dare to believe in freedom of speech and critique Israel as it relates to what's happening with Israel and Palestine. Obama didn't do that. Another thing that Obama didn't do, I don't know the status of every single person that was deported under Obama, but my assumption is that Obama deported those folks back to their original countries. He didn't send them to a concentration camp in countries that they do not come from. Does that count for anything, Joe Scarborough? Why not mention that? And it was Reverend, somebody did mention that on the panel. Why not talk about that more frequently? Like, that's a big difference. And Joe Biden didn't do that either. So, like, what's the deal here? And the fact of the matter is, Obama also didn't expel U.S. citizens with the parents that they deported. So this kind of like mellow us out to what's happening. Like, just be calm, just protest. Just continue to call for due process. But really, at the end of the day, this has always been happening but it was just Obama never talked about it. And true point that was made on the show was that Trump can't admit to that Obama had already started this, because then he would have to admit the fact that Obama deported more people than he did. And he doesn't want to do that. He can't do that. And of course, this is something that Obama doesn't want to get out there and claim on the campaign trail. But Obama was last president a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? And we've had two whole presidencies since then. So are you going back to what Reagan did? Are you going back to what the Bushes did? And I feel like this constant thing about bringing up Obama is designed to get us to kind of just mellow out as it relates to what Trump is doing. And that's wrong. And it's not right. Obama's not president anymore. And while we critique what he did in the past, there's more critique that needs to be happening right now. And when I see the constant comparisons to Obama, when I see Joe Scarborough bringing up, Tom Homan on the show and not giving him hard pressing questions, I kind of feel like he's trying to soften us up to what Trump is actually doing, and that is problematic. I think that Joe Scarborough has spent more of his time as it relates to this immigration issue calling for due process and calling out, what the Supreme Court did in their 9-0 thing about facilitating their release and so on and so forth. But ultimately, I'm not fully convinced that he has a problem with everything that Trump is doing, because he's always talked about how there's a problem at the border. And so I just don't see a reason for Obama's name to keep coming up unless it's for some type of ulterior motive. I just don't see it. But people want to do it, and they're going to do it. And I'm going to be one of the folks that are calling it out, because what Trump is doing to families is barbaric, it's savage. And Tom Homan wasn't doing then what he's doing now, even though what was going on back then was indeed worthy of critique. And even Homan bring up, yeah, I was working in the Obama administration. I've been doing this since 1984. You haven't been doing this, what y'all doing now, threatening to arrest the governor of Wisconsin, and you and Patel arresting judges in Wisconsin as well. Like, this is a different type of scenario. And these folks in the media need to treat it as such and not try to draw some type of comparison from years past that are not actually accurate. Let me know what y'all think. Holla at your boy in the comments. Peace out.